teams featuring a potent passing game along with the ability to mix in the run. A high-scoring affair may be in the making depending on which defenses shows up for the respective teams. You've got two great quarterbacks in Mike Hoover and Justin Voorhees, Tricomie and Solzner, the featured backs. Great receiving cores on both sides of the ball. And for Wadsworth, they cannot look beyond tonight's game because that could take away a lot of the luster of a league championship matchup with Copley next week and a ton of computer points. For Cloverleaf, they're looking to play the spoiler. It's been a frustrating season for this Colts team that expected to be a better team than their record shows, and they most definitely are that.
Yeah, this is the kind of game you hate to coach if you're a Wadsworth coach because you don't want the kids looking ahead to next week. But I guess the kids had a good week of practice as Wadsworth kicks off.
Galper kicks it. Number 7, Brian Elkovich, receives it, takes it to the 32 of the Colts.
Wadsworth and Cloverleaf are an awful lot alike, and they've got that good passing quarterback, and they also have a pretty good running back. I think the big difference is, for Wadsworth and Hoover, is a very strong arm, but Justin Voorhees, good quarterback. In fact, he's got 1,500 yards passing so far. Isn't that strong-armed a player? He's not that big. He goes about 5'7" and maybe 160 pounds, so he can't get the ball downfield. But he's got some good receivers, including number 7, Brian Eckenwright, and number 24, Steve Soslinski, and in particular, the tight end Dustin Clay. He might be the best player both ways on the team for Cloverleaf.
Voorhees gonna throw it, and it's an incomplete pass intended for number 24, Steve Soslinski.
And you saw Matt Delnos back there on the coverage. The reason he's there is Jake Karowski is still out with that injury. So last week they moved Delnos from his defensive end position to a linebacker, and he had an outstanding game last week as you watched. Right there was Delnos getting his hand up trying to break up the play. Also, Chris Hawkins, a backup running back for Wadsworth, injured his shoulder badly, a bad bruise, and he's not available for tonight either. So it's 2nd and 10 for Cloverleaf.
Voorhees, quick pass, incomplete, intended for Dustin Plackey, the tight end.
And Jake McElvain was right there. I was talking to Jake today. I said, Jake, you're going to get a pick tonight. And he says, I don't want a pick. He says, I want a fumble recovery. And I talking to him, he's got 5 fumble recoveries this year, and 1 more would set the school record. A couple other players I want to talk about here. Lineman Clay Stewart is 6'7", 295, a legitimate Division I prospect, and Adam Clapp, 6'4", 270, are huge ball players, and they go both ways. So the Wadsworth offensive line, when they take the field, might have some trouble trying to contain those big guys.
3rd and 10, ball still on the 33. Voorhees going to throw to the left and finds Elkovich wide open. He takes it to the 45 of the Wadsworth Grizzlies.
So that was a nice 23-yard pickup on the play. And what happened is the Wadsworth linebackers didn't get back deep enough. And the quarterback just dropped the ball over the linebackers in front of the safeties for a real nice game. And this is the kind of game you're going to see all night out of Cloverleaf. They might not run the ball 10 times tonight.
1st and 10 now for the Colts. High formation. Handoff to number 25. That's Jason Solzner, the senior. He's tackled at about the 43.
Jason Solzner in Medina County is the 2nd leading rusher behind our own Joe Tricomie. So they do have a potent running game. In fact, as you alluded to before, they can put up the points. They've had a really rough season. They lost to Howland in their Warren Howland their first game, state-ranked team by 1 point. They took Medina into double overtime before they lost. They lost to Revere on a missed 2-point conversion. More about this after the play.
And that pass off the hands of Jake McElvain intended for Elkovich, but as McElvain turned around, the ball was there.
To continue on with Cloverleaf's woes, Copley, they were ahead of Copley, 7-6, lost that. Green, they were up 21-0 and 28-7 before they lost 47-36. So it's just been a real tough season for Cloverleaf. And this is a much better team than their 3-5 record indicates. And quite frankly, tonight would make their whole season. If they could beat Wadsworth, that's like their Super Bowl and World Cup and World Series all rolled up into one.
Voorhees rolling, looking to the left. keeps it, goes to the line of scrimmage and throws. Elkovich jumps up, and the pass is incomplete because Jeff Hanna put a hit on him.
That was an awful good stick by Jeff Hanna because the ball was in there. Now, the receiver had to extend a bit, and he had the ball, but when he was coming down, Hanna made the big hit. And as you watch this, good protection for the quarterback. He rolls a little bit to the right and dances around just a little bit. He might have been thinking about running right there. Then he cranks the ball loose. Now watch Hanna come in for the hit right there and jars the ball loose. So 4th down, and they punt.
The snap on the punt was bounced.
And just makes, no, they're downing the ball on the 1-yard line. Oh, my.
I don't understand that. He rolled over the ball into the end zone, and the referee may be overruled here.
I certainly hope so.
Now he is.
Yeah, because the rule is on that. It doesn't matter where you touch the ball. You have to stop the ball. And if the ball, or the momentum for the ball, is provided by the kicker and it goes into the end zone, that is a touchback. So I'm glad the referee was overruled because the correct call is Wadsworth on the 20-yard line. I'll tell you another thing we haven't talked about, John. We had the weather forecast on the screen, but nothing was mentioned about the wind. It is an extremely gusty, swirling wind here tonight, blowing generally from left to right, 25 to 35 miles an hour. Wadsworth is going into that wind.
First play of Wadsworth offense. Hoover faked the handoff, rolling to his right, looks downfield to Brink.
Just off the hands of Brink.
Number 24 for the Colts, Steve Selinsky, the free safety, was back there, and Hoover placed it nicely over his head and just out of the reach of Chris Brink.
If you watch this, the safety commits to the interception, and when he doesn't get it, Chris Brink had an open field behind him. Nobody would have caught him. Just off his fingers right there, or that would have been an 80-yard touchdown bomb. So it didn't look like the wind was bothering Wadsworth too much on that play. That ball went well downfield.
Hoover gives to Joe DeCromie, off right end, plenty of running room. And he's 1 tackle's missed, and finally a tackle was made at the 45.
That's a 26-yard run.
That was Randy Pollock, a defensive back for the Colts, a senior. He also punted the ball on that last Cloverleaf punt.
Well, last play when Hoover rolled out, he had a lot of room in front of him, and he probably could have picked up the first down on that play, but he chose to throw the ball. That play, the same thing. There was just nobody in front of DeCromie. As soon as he got past the line of scrimmage, he was loose. Nice 26-yard gain.
This time, they give it to DeCromie to the left. He takes it to midfield where he's brought down.
Nice defensive play by Dustin Clakey, who plays linebacker on defense. And he came in from behind to make the tackle on DeCromie. DeCromie once again would have had big yards. Watch there. Nice tackle.
This Cloverleaf team has some quickness on their defense. The defense is led by all-suburban player, senior linebacker Shane Mangan. He had 120 tackles last season as a junior.
You look at this team, John, you can't figure out why they're 3-5.
Hoover on a slant pattern intended for Ben Vujis, and there was just one too many Colts there to break up that pass play.
In fact, Chris Cook almost picked that ball off. Again, a little bit of luck, and Cloverleaf could have been like 6-2 or 7-1 coming into this game, not 3-5. So, again, the coaches have assured me, or the feeling around the school is that Wadsworth is not looking past Cloverleaf at all for that game with Norton next week, which we'll talk about in a bit. And not Norton, but Copley. So they seem to have their heads on straight. No, they're going to have a football game on their hands here.
3rd and 6 for Wadsworth. Hoover rolling again. Looks for Copeland. And incomplete pass. Hoover pressured again and had to get rid of it quickly.
Yeah, I think Hoover got rid of the ball before he wanted to because Copeland was just standing there. He wasn't running a pattern, and the ball was just thrown over his head. And now the punt, and Wadsworth will be punting into the wind, which, as I say, is 25 to 35 miles an hour, so that might cut down the hang time and the distance on the punt.
Tony Moeller still out, and in punting is Justin Blackburn. He's the JV punter for the Grizzlies. It bounces at the 35 and rolls out of bounds.
So that's only about a 16-yard punt, and maybe 16, 17-yard punt, depends on where they spot it. So Cloverleaf will take over 1st and 10 on the 32.
9:07 left, first quarter. This is the 3rd season in the Suburban League for the Cloverleaf Colts. Last season finishing with a record of 3-7, 2-5 overall. When these two teams met last year at Cloverleaf, Wadsworth came out on top, 31-22.
And a penalty flag comes in long before the play, and you got to figure that's on the offense because now they're pointing against Wadsworth.
in that loss last year for Cloverleaf.
Offside Wadsworth, long before the snap, looked like somebody lined up in the neutral zone.
The quarterback, Voorhees, as a junior, passed for 230 yards in that game last year.
Well, even though Cloverleaf's only their third year in the Suburban, Wadsworth has played them for a long time. You can go way back 25, 30 years to the old Chippewa Conference when Wadsworth played Cloverleaf. And then when the Chippewa Conference broke up and Wadsworth went into the Pioneer, they would play Cloverleaf as one of the 3 non-conference games. They did that for a while. So these two schools know each other. Oh, great tackle.
Matt Delnos came right up from the linebacker position and made the tackle on Sulzner at the line of scrimmage.
Maybe a gain of 1 at most. And I'm very impressed with the kind of linebacking play that Delnos is doing. He's doing a good job roving around the middle there last week, this week also.
You mentioned about Kurowski being out with a shoulder injury. He may be back for the season-ending game with Copley next week. And he's the Grizzlies' leading tackler coming into today's game. 2nd and 5 for the Colts. Voorhees steps up into the pocket. Incomplete pass intended for Randy Pollock, and he was drilled by Jake McIlvain.
The ball should have been caught, but even if it had been caught, it would have been caught for no gain because McIlvain, once again, outstanding job of being there to make the hit. So that brings up a 3rd down and 5 yards to go. And so far, Cloverleaf has been playing in kind of bad luck, if you want to call drop passes bad luck, because there are a couple of passes they'd have had there for decent games that were dropped. And looks like Cloverleaf's going to call a timeout. Yeah, they weren't all on the same page. So while they call a timeout, you want to talk for a little bit? We'll talk about the computer and see how things are going in the computer rankings. Wadsworth this week is number 2 in Division II, Region 6, behind Piqua. And I would say they're assured of a playoff spot, even if they lose their last 2 games. Remembering how the playoffs work this year, 8 teams from each region make the playoffs, and the top 4 teams get to play a home game against the bottom division. And so Wadsworth, if they win tonight, I would guess that they would almost be assured of a home team advantage. There you see the records overall and in the conference, and Revere, I think, pretty much has 3rd place locked up, and as you can see next week, that huge game between Wadsworth and Copley. At the beginning, I was kind of thinking, John, that might determine who was going to go to the playoffs and who wasn't, but the way it looks now, Wadsworth and Cloverleaf are both a lock on going to postseason play.
Revere in Division II Region 5 is in 7th position in the computer points, so should they win their next 2 games,
that's still going to be tough because they play Highland and Norton the last 2 games, and they're not going to get a lot of computer points, so don't be surprised to see Revere drop out of that, but Wadsworth and Copley are in.
Voorhees, long drop back. Looks, another incomplete pass intended that time for Plackey, the tight end.
And that's got to be like, what, the 4th drop pass so far? You watch this ball. Plackey is wide open. There's nobody near him. The ball's just laid right in there, hits him in the hands. There isn't much more a quarterback can do. The ball's just, I wonder if he's hearing footsteps with McIlvain playing behind him.
Well, we lost our picture there. It's 8:18 to go in the 1st. There's the punt. There's your picture. Joe Tricomi goes back, makes the catch, and he gets nailed by number 45, Adam Shook, a senior.
That was a good tackle by Shook, but I'm glad the ball was received because last time they almost had the ball grounded on the 1-yard line after the Wadsworth receivers chose to let the ball roll.
Wadsworth will start on the 30. And the Cloverleaf quarterback, Larry, it's around 70 yards tonight. He'll break the single-season school record for passing yards.
He's got 1,500 some already.
Tricomi up the middle, gains maybe a couple. He's 2nd down for Wadsworth. And Jason Sulzner, the Colts running back, he could be the first Colt to surpass 1,000 yards since Jason Foster had 1,365 in 1995. Sulzner now with 815. A few more, that was coming into tonight's game.
Yeah, to wrap up the playoffs, Wadsworth, as it stands now, play the number 7 and number 8 team in the region. But those bottom positions shift a lot the last couple weeks because there isn't much difference in point.
There's a flag on that play. Pass caught by Vujis at the 40.
But that was an offside against Vujis. What he did, he was running parallel line of scrimmage, and he broke about one count too soon. It was pretty obvious, and then the flag came down.
Well, Larry, Wadsworth is two computer points, about 2.3 behind Piqua. Should they beat Cloverleaf and Copley, they may overtake that.
Yeah, I don't know who Piqua plays the last two games and what kind of records they have, but I would say if Wadsworth were to win their last two, particularly if they beat Copley next week, they might move into the #1 spot. Doesn't matter all that much because after the first game, you don't get home field advantage. It's just the first game.
Neutral sites.
Yeah, neutral sites after that.
And
it sure would be nice to have a playoff game here.
Copley in computer points is in Division III Region 9, and they are also in second like Wadsworth, behind Orville. Hoover.
And there's a flag for pass interference.
Because Joe Tricome came out of the backfield to make a catch, and he was bumped as the ball was passing by.
Bumped is mild. He was pretty much leveled as he tried to run downfield. In high school, pass interference is a 15-yard penalty. It has nothing to do with how far the ball goes. So Wadsworth will now have a 1st and 10 on the 42-yard line. By the way, more bad news for you people who are fans of the Shelby Whippets. Unfortunately, they were drubbed at Bellevue last week, 36-10. And in addition to that being their third loss, it effectively has taken Shelby out of the playoff picture. So tonight they're playing at Upper Sandusky, which they probably will win, but I'm afraid it's too late for the Whippets.
Cloverleaf defense not even ready on that play. It was a handoff to Joe Tricome. He tripped over somebody and got to the 44, gain of about 3. We look also, Larry, at the state poll a couple of weeks ago. Wadsworth was at the bottom of the poll. They list them like the top 17. They were number 17 2 weeks ago. Last week they dropped out, and now this week they're back at the very bottom again, number 17.
Little mix-up on the play.
I'll continue after this play.
Copeland lined up on the wrong side of the field. See if they get the snap off before the clock runs out. They do.
Hoover being pressured, and he's going to be sacked. He's brought all the way back to the 30 of Wadsworth.
It looked like they were running, looking for a little screen out there for Chris Brink, but you can see number 77 for
17.
77 was, or I'm sorry, 70. I think that was Stewart that got in there first.
That was 17, Dustin Plack.
Oh, so they brought Plack on a blitz in that play. So it was a very effective call. And that brings up a second down. No, I'm sorry, a 3rd down and 15 for Wadsworth.
6 minutes to go. Hoover to Joe Tricome, who makes the catch on the sideline at about the 43.
So it's a gain of about 6 or 7, but Wadsworth is going to be well short of the 1st and 10, and they're going to have to punt the ball. It looks to me like both sides are a little bit tentative yet. They haven't really gotten into a rhythm in terms of the catching, the blocking, and what have you. So it's been a rather lackluster first quarter so far, if you will, with the drop passes and what have you.
Blackburn's punt is high but
Straight
short.
up in the air.
Hits at the 40 of Cloverleaf, and the Wadsworth player on special teams, Ben Hill,
fielded the ball because it looked like it was going to run backwards, so that was just a 20-yard punt, and Cloverleaf takes over in good position on the 39-yard line, 1st and 10.
Back to that state poll real quick, Larry. I mentioned Wadsworth at the very bottom again, number 17. Copley, again, is still number 4 in the Division III poll in the state.
Somebody's got to be wrong. We'll find out next week who.
The handoff to Salzner. He goes around right in, but Steve Robertson is there to bring him down before he can go any further. And the thing about this Division II state poll, Larry, is go ahead.
I just want to mention Steve Robertson. He comes late to class every day because he's going for physical therapy on that bad arm of his. It's his left arm, which still isn't 100%. He can't raise it much above shoulder level, but you can see there, kept his arm down, made a real nice tackle for what looked like was going to be an awfully good game. So nice play by Steve.
In that state poll, Division II, there's 4 or 5 teams below Wadsworth in the computer points that are above them in the poll. Voorhees looking to throw. To the left, another incomplete pass intended for Randy Pollock.
And that was another drop pass. I think that one should have been caught also. So Voorhees is really passing in bad luck.
We'll find out here in a second what Voorhees...
He's only completed one pass out of 8 attempts, and I think 6 of the 8 that he missed have been dropped. So one pass for 22 yards.
That was the pass over the middle of Elkovich.
You can't fault Voorhees for that, though. And Cloverleaf takes another timeout. That's their second timeout with 4:33 to go in the first quarter.
4:33 left.
Quick note here, Jason Stolzner is 3 for 3 in terms of right.
Well, I got a quick... I got a quick message here, Larry.
Yeah.
Colin Cranston, who videotapes the games for the coaches so they can watch the game tapes, has a message here, and he wants me to say hello to Jim and Tony Lowe of Greenville, South Carolina. They were neighbors of Cloverleaf coach Bob Lake, and they worked with Colin at BF Goodrich. They root for both teams, and they're going to receive a copy of this tape. So hello, Jim and Tony Lowe.
Well, watching Cloverleaf, they just don't seem to be too much together right now. With all the drop passes, they've taken 2 timeouts, and there's still 4:33 to go in the first quarter. So they're having a little bit of trouble getting their act together, and I hope it continues.
2 receivers to the right of the line, 1 to the left. Voorhees looking over the middle. Now going to the left, almost intercepted by Jake Wilhite. A lot of balls being dropped tonight by both sides.
And that one was one that probably should have been intercepted, but Cloverleaf is going to have to punt the ball. This is going to be their 3rd punt of the night, and we were only at 4:27 in the first quarter. So neither team's been able to really do much so far.
A different punter now, Larry. Number 22, Adam Fisher, back to punt. Before it was Pollock. That bounces and takes a huge Cloverleaf bounce down to the 10 of Wadsworth, where number 34, Aaron Farnsworth, downs it.
No, they're marking the ball on the 29-yard line, I think.
Hit a Cloverleaf
player there. Is that where they're marking it? I believe so. So they're going to mark it on the 29 or 30-yard line, and that's very fortunate for Wadsworth because they would have started deep in a hole if that hadn't been for that accidental bump of the ball, if you will. So Wadsworth takes over for their 3rd time. See if they can get something rolling here.
Both teams coming off a win. Cloverleaf beating Norton 24-6, and Wadsworth beating Highland 37-15.
Whistles blow.
Somebody jumped on the line there.
Let's see what the referees call. Offsides against Cloverleaf, so that'll be a 5-yard penalty, bring up a 1st and 5.
Wadsworth had 316 rushing yards as a team against Highland last week. They averaged 7.5 yards per rush.
Well, I was impressed last week in the first quarter how Highland playing their 4-4 defense was putting pressure on Hoover by bringing linebackers, and maybe Cloverleaf could learn something from that.
Fake handoff to Tacomi. Hoover looking for help, spinning around, and then he's just sacked. Had nowhere to go with the ball. Number 76, Eric Grover, a junior end for Cloverleaf.
Well, we said at the start of the show, these Cloverleaf linemen are really big. Grover is the smallest of the bunch up front, and he's 6'4", 230, and he's playing a defensive end. And so far, Hoover's been having trouble because it doesn't look like the Wadsworth offensive line can keep the pressure off him. But now they're moving the ball. They moved the ball forward. I didn't get the call.
3:53 to go in the first. It's 1st down, 10 to go. Ball on the 40 for the Grizzlies.
I didn't see what the penalty was. It was a 5-yard penalty, and it's a 1st down for Wadsworth.
A pass to Vu, just caught, and he makes a spin move around the defender. Vu just stay on the sideline for a Wadsworth touchdown.
That was one of those beautiful moves I've ever seen. Vujis looked like he was going deep and then pulled up short. The defender totally lost where Vujis was.
The defender was still looking for the ball.
Here's the pass, and there's Vujis. Stops right there. The defender's looking for the ball, and bye-bye, and that takes care of that. So a 60-yard touchdown pass from Hoover to Vujis, and that's one of the hallmarks of the Grizzly team this year. They strike quick from long distances.
Sam Galpert shooting for extra point number 29. It's up and good with 3:38 to go in the first. Wadsworth scores first, Larry, 7-0.
That's only the third time this year has happened in 9 games. The opposing team has scored first 6 times.
Vujis 2 catches for 67 yards last week. That one there is close to his total for the 2 catches in the Highland game.
I noticed, so Chris Brink is still leading the area in pass receptions and yards per catch.
That was Ben Vujis' second touchdown of the season.
So that's...
And one more thing, Larry, Mike Hoover's 27th touchdown pass.
There are other quarterbacks around that have like within 500 yards of Vujis, but nobody's anywhere near the number of touchdowns.
Hoover, you mean?
Hoover. No, nobody's anywhere near the number of touchdowns that he's thrown. So now Wadsworth will kick off.
Number 7, Brian Elkovich. For 43, David Smith.
See what kind of a kickoff Wadsworth tries this time. They've had good success through the year, rather than kicking the ball deep, just kind of dribbling it down the field or kind of hooking it into a dead zone somewhere. And with the wind blowing in Galpert's face, you might expect them to do that this time also.
Sam Galpert puts a leg into it. Very short kick. And he's pushed out of bounds at the 38 of the Colts.
That was only about a 25-yard kickoff and
Wind
a 5-yard return. I think he just kind of missed that.
Got under it a little.
Came off the side of his foot, and he kind of shanked it like a 9-iron and just lobbed up in the air. So Cloverleaf takes over 1st and 10 on their own 38-yard line.
And they're ready to go. Voorhees under center. I formation for the Colts. Give to Solzner, finds a hole. And he's tackled at midfield by Jeff Hanna and Steve Robertson.
Pat McCarthy was in on the tackle also. He just kind of squirted through that hole. There isn't much of a hole there, but he makes the most of it. One good little fake coming up right there to gain about another 5 yards, and you can see the Wadsworth defense converging on him. But that was a 10-yard run and brings up a 1st and 10. Actually, it was an 11-yard run, so it's a 1st and 10. Cloverleaf on the 49.
Randy Pollock, the fullback, puts a block on Brink.
And there's going to be a penalty on the,
Jake McIlvain.
Interference on Jake McIlvain, and that was a good call because the receiver was just totally blocked off his route by Jake. It wasn't anything intentional. They kind of collided, but that's going to be a good pass interference penalty call. So that's a 15-yard penalty. 3rd first down for Cloverleaf. That one by way of the penalty route. I was looking at Wadsworth, and they are really playing way off the ball. They've got the 2 linebackers set pretty close, but then 4 defensive backs. They're lining up at like 10 yards across the field, 10 yards deep. So it doesn't look like they're going to pay too much attention to the run. They just want to stop the deep pass or the middle pass.
A nice play there intended for Elkovitz, but behind him, so incomplete.
Well, what Cloverleaf's doing is you watch this play, because the Wadsworth defensive backs are so deep, what they're trying to do is throw underneath with the quick hitters, because there's nobody on the line of scrimmage like jamming the receivers or playing the receivers for the quick out or the quick slant across the middle. So there's like a cushion there of 5 yards that if you can get the ball in, you'll get like a 5-yard pickup, and then the Wadsworth defensive backs are coming up. It's rather a strange defensive set, actually, for Wadsworth. Now they got 2 wide receivers to the left.
Voorhees barking out the play. Short drop back. Pass complete to Steve Solinsky. And some team tackling there by the Wadsworth Grizzlies.
It's exactly what I said. The Wadsworth defenders were 10 yards off. The receiver went down 5 yards, curled in, made the catch. By that time, of course, the Wadsworth defenders came up. So it's like Wadsworth is saying, if you can complete it, we're going to give you 5 yards, but we're going to stop you right there. So that brings up a 3rd down and 5 for Cloverleaf on the 30-yard line. I don't know what kind of a field goal kicker they've got, but with the wind blowing from behind them, they could make a large gains here, but I guess I just heard they don't have much field goal kicker, so they're probably going to go for it on 4th down. This is 4-down territory for them.
Solzner gets the give, bounces into the line, comes back, and Dietrich is there before he can go any further.
Bounced right in, then heads up running as he cut to the outside, but Dietrich had fought off his block and was waiting for him. So that's a pickup of about 3, so it's going to bring up a 4th down and 2 for Cloverleaf, and they're going to go for it, 4th and 2. So it's the first big play of the game for both teams. Cloverleaf can move on here. They might tie the game. Wadsworth, of course, would love to stop and take over the ball on about the 20-yard or 25-yard line.
2 minutes to go in the first quarter. Big play here. Pass to Elkovit.
Oh, no.
But the back judge is throwing a flag on that play. I think it's on Steve Robertson, number 4.
It is on Robertson. Let's watch this. Oh, yeah, that's pretty obvious. That was a good call. Well, what happened on that play is the Wadsworth defensive backs went off about 10 yards again, and then just at the snap, they came running up, and what happened was number 4, Steve Robertson, made contact just before the ball got there, and that's an unfortunate penalty. It's 30 yards in penalties so far for Cloverleaf on this drive, and they have a 1st and 10 on about the 14-yard line.
Tough mistake there for the Grizzly defense.
They're still playing that 4-deep umbrella-type coverage, actually, what it is.
Hand off to number 40, Shane Mangan.
I think that was Dietrich again on the tackle, getting off the bottom.
Interesting, Mangan in there at tailback. He's primarily a linebacker.
Brings up a 2nd down and 6. Voorhees, the quarterback, after every play, it seems, runs over to the sideline and gets the plays from the coach, so they're not signaling the plays in as much as they're like handing them to him.
And his cadence seems to be a lot longer than a lot of other high school quarterbacks. Mangan gets it again, powers through the line, spin move, still not down. Finally takes about 3 Grizzlies to bring him down at the 6-yard line.
That was good, hard running. He's going to come up short of the 1st down. It's going to bring up about 3rd and about 2 on the 6 or 7-yard line. I guess they're marking it on the 6th. So that'll be 3rd down and 2. And once again, you have to assume that they're going to go for it. And you could see that the host of Grizzlies that it took to bring him down on that play.
Under a minute to go. Receivers wide from the line for the Colts. Voorhees looking to the corner, keeps it himself. He's going to have to run in, and he runs out of bounds at about the 2.
It's going to be a 1st down, or it's not going to be a touchdown. And Wadsworth actually had pretty good coverage on the play. There's Voorhees. He's looking for like a post pattern or a flag pattern on the outside. See, there's nothing there. Then decides, I can at least get the 1st down. And by the time the Wadsworth defense came up, and I think that's Pat McCarthy, you see pushing them out of bounds, they were down in 1st down territory. So that brings up a 1st and 2 on the 2-yard line.
Solzner leads the team in touchdowns with 11.
And now Wadsworth is not playing
Full
the umbrella
house
coverage.
backfield. Solzner gets it, goes into the end zone for his 12th touchdown, 7-6.
So with 28 seconds left to go in the first quarter, Cloverleaf scores. It wasn't that it was that much of a drive. You watch him fight his way into the end zone. They were helped by half the distance to the goal line was in penalties, 2 15-yarders for pass interference. So they're going to line up to try the extra point with 28 seconds to go in the first quarter.
Adam Fisher, a junior, in to kick the extra point. Kick is low and
Blocked.
barely goes
Oh,
through.
it went through?
Yeah, it went through near the right upright if you're facing the goalpost. Squeaked through there to tie the game at 7. 28 seconds left in the first quarter. And you mentioned they didn't have much of a kicker. We saw that kick there, not very...
well, the crossbar is 10 feet above the ground. I think the ball got up about 10 feet 2 inches and just sliced. I swore the ball was blocked. I didn't see it come past the line of scrimmage, but he did manage to get it through. So this is kind of the game that we expected. The air being filled with footballs. 7-7. It looks like it's going to be that at the end of the first quarter unless Wadsworth runs a kickoff back here. It'll be the first kickoff tonight for Cloverleaf.
Mike Hoover, of course, has now passed for over 2,000 yards this season.
He's got another
3 interceptions only.
That to me is the most amazing stat. What, 27 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
And his completion percentage of 59%. Not too shabby. Fisher teeing it up to kick it off. Bugis and Tricome back to receive, or is it Tricome and Osterland?
Adam Fisher to kick off for the Colts.
Can't see the way they're standing.
It is Tricome. And it's a shallow kick, and it was Osterland, and it'll be Osterland that picks it up, takes it to 30, jumps over a couple more people until he's met by about 3 or 4 Colts. Great field position for this series for the Grizzlies as Ben Osterland with a nice run back takes it to the 41.
And that was a nice run back. He almost looks like a hurdler here. Picks it up. You think he's going to get stopped right there. But look at that. Hurls his own player. Sees a little seam. Heads up that way. And then drags a few tacklers along with him. So that was a real nice run back. To take, so Wadsworth takes over first down on the 42.
Fake handoff. Now
that's a fumble.
A backwards pass to Tricome, and he started to run with it, fumbled it, but wisely pounced on top of it.
That was
a loss of about 7 yards on that play.
That was a free ball all the way around. It was a free ball because it was a lateral, and then it was a free ball because it might have been a fumble. The ball's thrown backwards, so whether Tricome ever has possession or not doesn't matter. It's still a free ball. And like he alertly dives on the ball to save it for Wadsworth, and that's the end of the first quarter.
And score tied 7-7 at the end of the first. Joe Tricome, 3 touchdowns and 180 yards last week against Highland. He's reeled off 3 games of 180 yards or over, and he's looking to be the Grizzlies' 8th 1,000-yard rusher and 4th in as many seasons.
Here's some stats. Ben Hoover is 2 for 5 for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. Victor, of course, the 60-yarder. And Joe Tricome has run the ball so far 4 times for 30 yards. Wadsworth, here's a big stat, has been penalized 4 times for 40 yards in the first quarter, and 2 of those 15-yarders came on that last drive. Justin Voorhees for Cloverleaf is only 2 of 11 for 27 yards, but had a lot of drops. Jason Solzner, 4 carries for 14 yards. But he does have the 1 TD.
I can't. Kovac Realtors, sponsoring Wadsworth Grizzly football, 157 Great Oaks Trail, 336-8883 for your real estate needs.
So I would say the game's going pretty much as we expected, except for some of the sloppy play, the penalties, the turnovers, the drop passes. But Wadsworth now has the 2nd down and 16 from their own 35.
First play of the second half. There's Joe Tricome to the 45 of Wadsworth, and again, Tricome really picking it up on the ground.
That was a pickup of 11 yards, so it's going to bring up a 3rd down and 5. And as we've said, the running game makes the passing game go, and conversely, the passing game makes the running game go. And when you have a good runner like Tricome and a great quarterback like Hoover, it's almost like a gamble or a guessing game. What are you going to try to stop?
Vujis in motion this time. Hoover looks for Vujis, finds him wide open in midfield. He makes a move at the 45, and he's tackled at about the 41 into Cloverleaf territory.
About a 13-yard pickup as you watch this, and he was wide open, nobody there. Then turns the ball upfield, makes a good move right there to get away from the first tackler and gain an extra few yards. So Wadsworth now has a 1st down and 10 on the 41-yard line.
Give to Joe Tricome on the first down. And he gains a couple of yards.
Bounced off the first foul, rolled to the outside, managed to pick up 1 or 2. And as you watch this Wadsworth team, as time goes on, they seem to be getting more and more and more in sync. Something that they weren't showing too much in the first quarter. They give him 2 yards on the carry, so it's going to bring up a 2nd down and 8.
Joe Tricome averaging 6 yards per carry.
That's another thing. You look at the statistics, like the receivers and running backs, how many yards they gain per catch or per carry. Oh, spread offense.
Defense, the backfield shifts into the slot, and a pass there intended for Nate Stone, but way over his head, incomplete.
There was a new wrinkle there where they just took everybody out of the backfield, and you knew it was going to be a quick pass, and Stone came out pretty well open, but Hoover put it just over his head. Of course, he was being pressured, as you see, just a bit too high.
Stone was in the backfield late in the Highland game. He came in and with 3 rushes had 79 yards.
And a touchdown. He had a good game.
Now back to the I formation. Cloverleaf defensive line a little mixed up. Now they're ready. Hoover rolling to his left. Again finds Vujis. He fumbles the ball, and it's recovered by Cloverleaf. That was the same play that was completed by Vujis a couple plays ago. He just fumbled the ball.
Right, he had the ball and was turning to run, and there's no problem. He's got it right there. And as he is changing arms, he just dropped the ball. So there's a break for Cloverleaf, and Cloverleaf will take over 1st and 10 on their 29. And usually Cloverleaf's the one that's been having the trouble with the turnovers this year so far. They've lost at least 2 games on turnovers. And Wadsworth has really been relatively turnover-free the entire year. Only 3 interceptions. I don't know how many fumbles they've had lost, but not too awful many.
Grizzlies have lost 12 fumbles.
That would be the 13th.
Or no, I'm sorry. They've fumbled 12, lost 8.
So that's only the 9th time they lost the ball on fumbles. And won a game in high school ball. That's not a bad statistic at all.
Timeout on the field.
I think that's a Wadsworth timeout.
We're told Cloverleaf timeout. That's their third.
That's their third, and there's still 10:26 to go in the first quarter. So they're having trouble keeping everybody on the same page. I thought maybe Wadsworth would call that turnover, just take a timeout, get everybody settled down, but not with Cloverleaf.
Well, we spoke about Clay Stewart, the big lineman for the Colts, and he is a Division I prospect. And he looked at colleges, Ohio State, Indiana, North Carolina State, Kent State, University of Akron, but he's leaning towards going to Michigan State or South Carolina. He is undecided.
I know
he isn't the only player from Cloverleaf attracting Division I attention. Adam Clapp, a 6'4", 270 lineman, and Dustin Plackey, the tight end, also could end up with full rides.
They got some ball players on this team.
Voorhees missed the handoff, and he goes back to the middle of the line until he's nailed by, I think, Jake McIlvain, the big hitter of the Grizzly defense.
Well, Clay Stewart, I know he was being recruited by South Carolina as a track person. He went to state in the I believe it was the shot put, and they were looking at him, if he's not going to play football, maybe to throw the shot for them. So he's got a lot of prospects going for him.
Well, side note about the Colts, even though they haven't had too many winning seasons the past few years, after this play, 9:49 to go in the first half, Voorhees drops back. Slant pattern of pass intended for Adam Fisher is incomplete. The Colts have produced 7 Division I college players since 1994.
Yeah, it reminds me of Highland. It's the same type of thing. Every year Highland sends people to Division I, Division III ball. They seem to have individual good players, but somehow as a team they can't get it together to win the ball game.
Bob Lake, the head coach of the Cloverleaf Colts, in his 14th year.
That's a 3rd down and 7 coming up for Cloverleaf now. The penalty flag in an illegal formation. Cloverleaf didn't have enough people on the line of scrimmage.
And Voorhees, that was Ben Hill who came from behind to put Voorhees on his face at the sideline, but the flag is on Cloverleaf.
I'm not sure that that's a play. If you understand, if you don't have enough people on the line of scrimmage, there's no play.
The ref just threw another flag there as he was walking back to the line.
I think that second flag might have been that he was over the line of scrimmage when he threw the ball, because he was pretty far downfield when he threw it. I don't think they're going to call a hit. Well, the referees are sorting it out. Let's see what we have. They have over the line. Those are the two calls. First of all, there was an illegal formation, not enough people on the line of scrimmage for Cloverleaf. The other one was throwing the ball beyond the line of scrimmage, and throwing the ball beyond the line of scrimmage, I believe, is a loss of down penalty, and that's the one that Wadsworth will probably accept, and Cloverleaf already has their kicking team in. So let's see what the referees call. The legal forward pass, and it's a loss of down, so it's going to bring up a 4th down and 12 for Cloverleaf, so they're into punt.
9:36 remaining in the first half.
Wadsworth isn't ready for the punt, and they're running players in and out of the field. That's okay. The ref's just now starting the clock. So
Tricome and Vujis back to receive the punt.
Now the referees are conferring.
Adam Fisher in to punt the ball for the Colts.
You can see the refs talking something over. I think they were just getting set as far as the clock was concerned and things like that, giving Wadsworth enough time to get their players in.
Fisher gonna punt from about his own 17.
There's the punt. That's going to roll if it's not received. Up,
bounces at the 50. And stops dead at the 45 of Wadsworth, where the Grizzlies will take over.
That's a 32-yard punt, and Wadsworth is going to take over, as you say, on the 45. And they had some nice plays going last drive until the fumble occurred. So, as I said, it looked like they were getting their act together. They were starting to click offensively, see if they could move it down the field. Two people whose names we haven't called yet tonight are Chris Brink and Adam Copeland, and you know they're big guns as far as receptions are concerned.
Joe Tricome gets the give, piles through the left side of the line, just shy of midfield at the 49.
Wadsworth got a good line search that time against the bigger Cloverleaf line, and as you watch Tricome go in here, the whole pile just seems to go forward, and he just kind of pushes his way through also and gains about 5 yards. So that brings up the 2nd down. And I guess they're marking it 4-yard gain, 2nd and 6 for Wadsworth on the 49-yard line.
Give to Tricome around the right end. Takes it into Cloverleaf territory. He's brought down by Chris Cook.
It's a pickup of 3, and it looks for a minute here like he's going to make it. He's going to cut wide and get there, but the defense comes up very quickly right there and makes a big hit. But it's going to bring up a 3rd down and 3 for Wadsworth on the 48. Two wideouts to the top here, screen.
That's Copeland and Vujis. Joe Tricome gets the give through the right side of the line, gets the 1st down before he's vaulted at the 40, and the ball will be marked at the 38.
I was impressed how quick he hit that hole. That was very quick.
Matt Four-like there.
Yeah, it was a real quick. Watch this. Through the hole before anybody knows he's there, and then good tackle by number 22, but by that time he had picked up the 1st down.
Many of you may forget Matt Four hurt earlier this season and out for the season. He could really hit the hole and go through.
So far, Tricome 10 carries, 52 yards.
Nice play here, long downfield to Chris Brink, and passes out of bounds.
That might have been the wind. I'm looking at the flag, and as we said, the wind's blowing at steady, maybe 20, 25, gusting to 35, and he just kind of laid the ball up there for Brink to run under. Brink was deep, and the ball not only went long, but it also went out of bounds, and if you look the way the wind's blowing, that's the way the ball would have gone. So that brings up a 2nd and 10 for Wadsworth.
Mike Hoover, as Osterlund runs by. Draw play, hole in the middle of the line. Tricome makes a couple steps, and boy, nice run. Joe Tricome takes it to the 23.
And I want to give credit to Nate Stone on that play because he made an outstanding block on the linebacker. The linebacker was ready to make the tackle for about a 2-yard gain, but because of Stone's block, he just couldn't get there. He got a hand on him, but couldn't bring him down. So Wadsworth really seems to be rolling right now, and what's impressing me, it seems like whatever they're doing is working. When they want to pass, the passes are clicking. When they want to run, the runs are clicking also. That was a nice call on that draw.
Hand off to Tracomie again. This time he goes left. Spins for a couple extra yards. Tough, hard running there by Joe Tracomie.
And I was watching Stone on that play. That was another nice block to seal the linebacker. If you watch Stone leading the play just outside your screen, there's the block right there that springs him for the extra 3 or 4 yards. Then it's Joe Tracomie after that. That was a nice pickup of 5 yards. Going to bring up 2nd down and 5 for Wadsworth on the 17-yard line. No, they're marking for 19.
7 minutes to go here in the first half.
Penalty flag before the play. And I think that's going to be offside on Wadsworth. I think somebody on the line broke before the play.
Mike Hoover throwing his hands up there like,
saying,
what's
what am I
going on?
supposed to do, yeah? And they're marking the ball back 5 yards, and it's offside Wadsworth. That's the 5th penalty for Wadsworth tonight. And again, that's unusual. It's only the middle of the 2nd quarter. Already we have 5 penalties. Wadsworth is not a heavily penalized team. In fact, one of the things that held them in good stead all the beginning of the year was lack of turnovers and lack of penalties. And they just don't make that many mistakes, but tonight there are.
Hoover going to roll to the left this time. Get some blocks to contain the pressure, and a diving catch
Beautiful
made
catch
by Ben Vujis at the 12-yard line.
I didn't know whether he caught it or not, which is why I made the call. He dove out. If you watch this, you can see it. He's going to lay himself out flat and then roll as he comes down the ball. You can't tell if he's got it or not right there. And then he just takes the ball, holds it in the air, and says, hey, ref, look what I got. So that brings it down to the
kind of
11-yard line, 1st and 10.
Pulled it into his hip there as he rolled around. Joe Tracomie.
Nothing.
Going to be down at about the 9-yard line. Number 40, Shane Mangan, makes the tackle.
Nice play by the linebacker, because it looks like he's got something going, and then the linebacker fills the hole very nicely. Brings him down for only a 2-yard gain. They're marking it on the 9-yard line, so it's going to bring up the 2nd down and 8 yards to go. Wadsworth doing a very nice job of mixing the runs and the passes tonight, keeping Cloverleaf's defense off balance.
Hoover fade into the corner of the end zone, tipped by Elkovitz, and caught.
Oh,
You're kidding me. An acrobatic catch by Ben Vujis. That ball was tipped up by the defender, tipped by Vujis. He must have fell on his back and made the catch as it came down.
I don't believe this. This is a highlight film right there. The ball's tipped, and there he
caught it between his legs.
He caught it between his legs, and then
before it hit the ground, Vujis caught the ball, sandwiched it between his knees for the touchdown. Galpert's extra point is good. 14-7 Wadsworth, 5:51 left first half.
That's one where you got to think the gods are smiling.
We got to see that replay again.
I hope we could bring that up again.
I knew he had to fallen on his back because it was tipped twice.
Watch the ball. Okay, here comes the pass. There's the tip right there, and watch as he goes down right there. The ball comes down.
He lifts his legs up and
catches the ball. That's one of the more unbelievable plays tonight. Oh.
We ought to send that one to
John Gramuglia
bloopers.
That says he's done that before. Okay. Ho-hum. Here's what we got so far. Mike Hoover, 6 of 11 for 102 yards in that touchdown pass. Joe Tracomie has 13 carries for 78 yards. The big pass plays right there with the touchdown, also a 60-yard touchdown pass. On the other side of the ball, Justin Boyce 2 for 12, but then he drops. And Solzner now 6 carries for 20 yards, but a touchdown. So Wadsworth will kick off with 5:51 to play in the 2nd quarter after that ho-hum routine catch. How many laughed about that one all night, folks? I'm sorry. That was something.
Sam Galper ready. Kicks it to number 43, David Smithberger.
A nice tackle. In fact, a touchdown-saving tackle by Mike Valentine. The ball is kicked over here into the flat area, and usually when that happens, the ball just kind of bounces around, but you can see he caught the ball, and if you watch, right there, number 1, Mike Valentine slowed him down. I'm sorry, Valiente. I'm sorry, Mike Valiente made the tackle that saved the touchdown.
Hanna made the tackle. Valiente slowed him down.
Valiente slowed him down, but if it wasn't for Valiente, he'd have been gone. So it's a 1st and 10 for Cloverleaf on the 38.
Plenty of time here. Solinsky, wide receiver in motion for the Colts. Handoff to Solzner. Little off tackle run there to the 39.
Saw Delnos on top. See who gets up off the bottom there.
Number 25, Jason Solster, the ball carrier, brought down by Jake McElvain.
Looked like Jake McElvain was down the bottom of that pile making the tackle. So they gained a yard, so it's going to bring up 2nd down and 9 for Cloverleaf. Clock's running with 5:22 to go in the 2nd quarter.
Solzner, 5'9", 150. Not a big back, but he's capable of gaining some yards after the initial hit. And
again, run, not much there.
Jason Solzner.
That time the stop was made by, I think, number 77, Ian Formas was in on that. And you've got to give this Wadsworth offensive and defensive line credit. With all those big horses that Cloverleaf has, they're not being really neutralized. They're getting in there on offense. They're opening up just enough a hole for the run to go through. And on defense, they're not being kicked out of the play. So the front 4, front 5 for Wadsworth, they're doing a real good job against a much bigger Cloverleaf line.
Voorhees dropping back. Looks over the middle, off the hands of Elkovitz, incomplete.
And Pat McCarthy was there to break up the play.
Well,
good play by McCarthy.
In on the defensive line for Wadsworth is number 81. Ben Hill is playing defensive end, not Chris Brink. Hill is a great pass rusher for the Grizzlies. We saw him with a sack against Highland.
I don't see if Chris, didn't see Chris get hurt or anything.
The snap is fumbled on the punt.
And there's no call. Because the ball was dropped, there's no interference call. And the Cloverleaf punter looks like he's hurt because he got run into by run into by number 32.
Jake
Wilhite. But because the ball was on the ground and had to be picked up, essentially the punter then becomes a running back. Yeah, running back with the option to punt. He's no longer just a strictly punter, and he loses all those rules.
Therefore, the roughing the kicker, yeah. Cloverleaf defense, a little confused again. Joe Tricomi follows the line, cuts back to the middle of the field. A great run by Joe Tricomi. Had everybody pushing to the left, and he saw the wide open green to his right and cut that way and takes it to the 40 of Cloverleaf.
That's a 20-yard pickup. Very nice run. Starts to the left. There's good blocking out in front for maybe a 5-yard gain, but now Tricomi looks to his right, sees open field, and turns on the burners right there. Actually, it's an 18-yard pickup, 1st and 10 Wadsworth on the 42.
Hoover ready again. Fakes the handoff to Tricomi, rolling to his left. Finds Osterland, who has to dive and cannot make the catch.
I'll tell you what impressed me about Hoover on that play. I don't know if you were watching or not. He threw the ball sidearm, and it's amazing the steam that he got on it. That almost looked like an old Bernie Kosar play where, of course, Hoover runs a lot better than Kosar ever could in his dreams. Yeah, look, I can run better than Bernie Kosar. But he really got steam on the ball for throwing the ball sidearm like that, just a little bit off target. Wadsworth has 9 first downs here in this first half. And have moved the ball sporadically, but well when they've been moving it. So 2nd and 10.
Draw play, handoff to Joe Tricomi. Takes it to the 36 of Cloverleaf, a gain of 5 or 6.
So it's going to bring up about a 3rd down and 5 with 3:34 to go. And I think they're running some of those plays to take some of the pressure off Hoover. And I know Hoover hasn't been rolling out that much tonight either. But you've got that good a running game. They're going with it. And it keeps Cloverleaf off balance. They just can't come full bore. 98 yards for Tricomi so far.
Tricomi now over 100 yards. Takes it to the 32.
And it's going to be close to a 1st down. Depends on the spot. See where they spot it.
The side judge indicating 1st down, and the referee says 1st down.
So Wadsworth got a drive going here with 3:10. The clock's running. Of course, 3:10 for Wadsworth. This time to score about 5 touchdowns, I think. And so the clock isn't going to be a factor here as far as this drive is concerned. Except Wadsworth would probably like to use most of it up before they score.
Hoover running to his left. Hands off to Tricomi. Takes it to the 27-28 of Cloverleaf. Gain of about 4.
So that puts him over 100 yards rushing so far in the first half.
He's right on pace where he's been the last 3 games or so, 180 yards plus the last few games.
Considering he wasn't their starting running back or was one of 2 co-starting running backs at the beginning of the season, this has been a real nice pickup for the Wadsworth Grizzlies.
And Joe's also made a few catches the past couple games for 50 to 60 yards. Slant pattern run nicely by Adam Copeland, his first reception of the night.
It was a nice fake by Hoover because it looked like Tricome was going to come this way, and then he just stood up, turned around, and popped the ball to Copeland across the middle. Good throw, good catch, and first down for Wadsworth on the 17-yard line.
And with that first completion for Adam, we'd like to wish Adam a happy 18th birthday. What's today, Larry? 22nd?
Yeah.
October 25th is Adam Copeland's 18th birthday as Joe Tricome runs. And that birthday wish is from Mom, Dad, and the rest of the family. So happy birthday, Adam.
Happy birthday Monday.
Happy birthday Monday.
Yeah,
Adam.
Monday's
Yes.
the 25th. Yeah, I was just doing some in my head, and Monday is the 25th. So that was a pickup of 6, bring up second down and 4, a minute 43 to go for Wadsworth. And I think this is just what the coaches want. If they can get the ball in the end zone here, go up 14 points at half, not give Cloverleaf time to do anything. Oh,
Comey, a hole on the left side of the line. A nice play by the Cloverleaf defender. Got an arm in on that. Hoover wants a timeout, and he gets it.
That hole was huge. Tricome's been doing a good job of just hitting the line of scrimmage quick, getting through the holes. At that time, Wadsworth's offensive line, outstanding job, opened the hole that you proverbially could have driven a Mack truck through. And Tricome made the most of it, brought it down to the 4-yard line where it's going to be first and goal and a timeout Wadsworth. And I would say if Wadsworth could score here, Cloverleaf's got to be a little bit discouraged that they haven't looked all that good tonight. They've looked good occasionally, but haven't been consistent. And Wadsworth gave them a lot of help with those penalties in the touchdown drive. To go in down 21-7, I think would be a little bit disheartening for Cloverleaf. You will have to be considered underdogs in this game.
And with a win tonight for the Grizzlies, they get one step closer to earning a home game in the first round of the Division II state playoffs, which begin in 2 weeks.
It would be nice to do the game from here. It would be nice. And, of course, the team they played, because Wadsworth is so far, they're the easternmost team of that region. They might be playing teams from suburban Toledo or somewhere near the Indiana border.
Well, right now, if the playoffs started tonight, Wadsworth would be playing number 7 in the region, and that's Amherst Steel.
Well, that isn't too far. But some of the other ones like White House, Anthony Wayne.
Joe Tricome goes left, then right, gets into the end zone. Touchdown, Joe Tricome.
If you look at some of the other teams that they might be playing, Marysville is a possibility. Well, they're 30 miles outside of Columbus, so West Columbus. Sylvania Stroudsky, that's South Suburban Toledo. White House, Anthony Wayne, that's another suburban Toledo team. These teams got a 2-hour drive before they even get to the stadium. So far, Tricome has 121 yards rushing here in the first half, which is probably an average night for him. 20 carries, 121 yards, 6 yards per carry, right on his average.
Extra point is up and good, 21-7 Wadsworth with 1:23 left in the first half. And that is Joe Tricome's 10th rushing touchdown of the season.
Mike Hoover now 7 for 13 for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Tricome, 20 carries, 121 yards, and the 1 touchdown. And I think in that drive, Wadsworth was very much in sync. Well, Galpert will kick off. He has the wind at his back, and might want to watch to see if he tries to power it downfield or again just kind of pooch it out into the flat somewhere to avoid the run back. Minute 23 to go. And an interesting thing about Cloverleaf, with all their passing, they're not really a big play team. In other words, they're not going to beat you on like the 60-yarders like Hoover did not too long ago. They pass a lot, but they have to work the ball down the field. They have no timeout, so with just a minute 23 to go, there isn't much time for them, their offense, to get a score on the board. So they might want to try to avoid the big run back and just kind of lay it out somewhere in the flat, make sure that it's covered.
Galpert with the hand up. Squibs the kick. Knocked down by one of the up men, number 46, Adam Hewitt.
That's a free ball.
And I think he did.
Well, remember that one in the Green game where he kicked it and they hit a Green player and came back as a line drive and was recovered by Wadsworth. Now Cloverleaf recovers on the 44, and that's not what Wadsworth wanted to do. They wanted to get the ball down field further than that, but it just so happened that it hit one of the up linemen, and Wadsworth almost recovered the fumble. Well, Cloverleaf takes over, excellent field position on the 44-yard line, and they've got a minute 20 to see if they can get the ball in the end zone.
Voorhees has 3 receivers looking to his right in the pocket, out of the reach of Steve Solinsky.
Well, Jake McElvain was there. If Solinsky had caught the ball, it would have been a very short gain or no gain at all. That brings up a second down. And I'll tell you, if Cloverleaf throws 3 passes here and doesn't make a first down and has to punt, Wadsworth's going to get the ball with about 55 seconds to go, which is more than enough time for them to drive down the field to score. So I have a hunch if they don't complete this pass, they might try to run some time off the clock so Wadsworth doesn't get it back.
Voorhees ready. Drops back. Hands off to Solzner. Solzner making some stutter steps at the midfield mark and takes it to about the 49 of Wadsworth.
So it's a 7-yard game. It's going to bring up 3rd and 3. And as we said, Cloverleaf cannot stop the clock. And right now there's 57 seconds to go. They can't ground the ball or something like that because it'd be out of bounds.
There you see Voorhees ran to get the play, ran back on the field.
You know, it's funny they don't signal the plays in or something. Voorhees runs over to the sideline
or like
every play.
The Grizzlies, they
yeah.
switch receivers running in and out of the game with the play. And Solzner to the 45.
I think he's going to be awful close to a first down.
The Grizzlies usually Osterland and Vujas trade off running the plays in. Here the quarterback doing it for the Colts.
Well, when you do that, of course, it means you have the luxury of good players that you can run in and out, not lose anything. And evidently the Cloverleaf coach, Lake, doesn't feel that he has that luxury of substituting players like that.
And you're tiring out your quarterback,
yeah,
running to the sideline and back to the huddle.
I wonder how many yards he gains in the game back and forth. They're going to throw.
Voorhees looking screen pass to Dustin Plackey, and then he's going to throw it all the way down to number 24, Steve Solinsky, for a Colts touchdown. What a play run by the Colts offense.
They score with 10 seconds to go, and that's got to be disheartening for Wadsworth. It looked like a screen pass. Throw the ball out, and what happened is it sucked the Wadsworth defenders up, and then wide open all by himself from the 10-yard line for the touchdown. That was almost too easy. And I feel kind of bad that the Wadsworth defenders bid on that one with that little time to go.
Nice pass there by the tight end, Dustin Plackey.
Yep.
Fisher's kick is up and good, 21-14 with 10 seconds to go in the half.
Well, you know, I said that Cloverleaf wasn't a big play team, and like so many times this year, I was proved absolutely wrong as soon as I said something like that. But again, that gimmick, that razzle-dazzle, you don't expect that to work. It was pretty much desperation, but it did.
The Grizzlies with 21 points here in the first half. Wadsworth is averaging 37 points per Suburban League game and 36 points overall. So they're right on pace for that. However, that great play by the Cloverleaf Colts puts them within a touchdown.
45-yard touchdown pass officially for Dustin Plackey. And that sure goes to show you why he is a prospect for college ball. And let's see what Cloverleaf elects to do, if they elect to kick the ball deep or just kick it short.
You're watching Wadsworth Grizzly football on WCTV Channel 16. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage this season. We'll be here at Arkwright Stadium next Friday for a huge game with the Copley Indians.
It's a little squib kick.
Picked up by Ben Osterland, takes it out to the 35, about a 14-yard return.
And that'll be the half. Unless Wadsworth tries to go real deep, one play, go for it all, or look for an interference penalty. 6 seconds to play.
Copley, of course, is playing Highland tonight. Should be an easy victory for the Indians.
Wadsworth has 2 wide receivers to the right.
Hoover is going to throw. And he's going to be sacked. You might as well hold on to it, Mike, and the whistle blows.
Hoover's claiming he was hit in the face mask, but the referees aren't having any of it.
And that is the end of the first half. Grizzlies leading 21-14. Very exciting game up to this point as the teams head to the locker rooms. We'll tally the stats. You'll watch the band, and we'll be back. Colts and the Grizzlies ready for the second half. Cloverleaf is going to kick it off. Larry Varner has first half statistics.
Yeah, for Wadsworth, starting out, Ben Hoover, 7 for 1,323 yards.
Mike.
Mike, yeah, here we go. Mike, sorry, Ben. Mike, whoever. Joe Tricome, 20 rushes, 121 yards, and 1 touchdown. Wadsworth has 13 first down, and they're penalized 5 times for 50 yards. And 2 of those penalties really hurt because they're pass interference penalties on the first Cloverleaf scoring drive that moved the ball 30 yards closer to goal and allowed them to get in.
The kick bounced out of bounds, so Wadsworth will take over at the 35.
As far as Cloverleaf is concerned, passing, they were 2 for 14 for 27 yards. And Salzner carried the ball 10 times for 35 yards and 1 TD, 8 first downs, 4 penalties. The big play for Cloverleaf was that razzle-dazzle play with the minute 23 to go, where they threw the pass to the tight end. The tight end then hit the wide receiver deep.
Joe Tricome starts off the second half running around to the left, makes a spin move, can't get away from Elkovitz as he's tackled at the 44.
Real quick, the scoring wrap-up. Wadsworth scored first for 3:38 left in the first quarter. Hoover to Bruges, 60-yard pass play. Calvert the extra point. Cloverleaf came back and scored with 28 seconds to go in the first quarter. Solsner, a 3-yard run. PAT was good. Then Wadsworth scored in the second period, 5:51. Hoover to Vujas for 10 yards. That was one Vujas caught between his knees and then flipped the ball up into his hands for a reception. And then finally that last big play by Cloverleaf on the razzle-dazzle.
Play action by Hoover. Pass down intended for Vujas, intercepted by Steve Solinsky. Colt interception at the 45-yard line is where the ball will be placed. And really, Larry, Vujas wouldn't have had to flip that into his hands. That's a reception no matter what you catch it with, as long as it doesn't hit the ground.
As long as it doesn't hit the ground. But there's a big turnover there. And, you know, Cloverleaf had to get some momentum, if you will, going into the first half, scoring that touchdown with the minute 23 to go. Then they come out, kick off to Wadsworth, and immediately Wadsworth turns the ball over. The last minute or so has not been good for Wadsworth. Double flanker, strange formation for Cloverleaf, and they run that way.
It's a pitch to Solzner, cuts back in. He has tons of running room, and he's brought down at the 43.
Oh, that was a really strange setup. Cloverleaf had everybody over to the left. It's kind of hard to see. But then they pitched that way, and they got more blockers than Wadsworth has people to tackle. So the cutback, and it's a nice little game before number 32, Jake Wilhite, came up at, not Wilhite, but...
32 is
Wilhite. I was thinking of Jake Broski again, who was out, but Jake Wilhite made a nice tackle there. And now they have the same formation the other way.
And they pitch it that way, but the Grizzlies are there to meet Solzner.
The thing about those gimmick plays is they'll work once, but that's about all. You try to run them back-to-back, and everybody on the defense is thinking, hey, same type of thing. And you could see Wadsworth came up, and once again, Wilhite was right there to make the stop, this time at the line of scrimmage. Actually a pickup of 1, so it's second down and 9 for Cloverleaf.
Ball resting on the 43 of Wadsworth. Again, the formation with 3 people on the left of the line.
Fake reverse.
Voorhees looking long downfield to Elkovitz. It's caught. Touchdown, Cloverleaf.
There was a fake reverse on that play, and the quarterback kept the ball, and the Wadsworth defenders just went back deep, and Hanna was almost there. As you watch, there's the fake reverse, and now he looks downfield. At this point, receiver is wide open. Hanna's coming over and just doesn't quite get there in time, and it's an easy touchdown for Cloverleaf. So they've scored twice in like the last 3 minutes, the first minute of the last minute of the second quarter, and now with 2 minutes left in the 2 minutes gone in the third quarter, to score again.
The extra point is up, and it's no good. Blocked by not sure who on the Grizzlies, but that's a key block for the Grizzlies. They maintain a 1-point lead with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. Nice catch there by Brian Elkovitz with a couple Grizzly defenders around him. Kept his concentration and made the touchdown catch.
So Wadsworth still comes out of this with the lead, but I'm sure that's not the way they want to start the second half. So if Wadsworth's going to win this thing, they're going to have to settle down. At the end of the first half, the first couple minutes here in the second quarter, I mean the third quarter, haven't looked too awfully good. with the turnover and then the big pass play for the touchdown. So Wadsworth will take over here on the kickoff, and let's see what they can do if they can get back on track.
Tonight, the two quarterbacks, Larry, Mike Hoover with, of course, over 2,000 yards for the season, and Justin Voorhees now over 1,500 for the season. And from what I was reading, I believe this is the first time in Suburban League history that two quarterbacks play in the same game on the same field with at least 1,500 yards.
Those are awfully big numbers for high school kids. Not surprised at that.
Ben Osterland receives the kick, and he's hit at the 30 by number 40, Shane Mangan.
Manages to drive forward for 4 more yards, so Wadsworth will take over here. And let's hope they can kind of get it together and march down the field. As you watch the kickoff, nice bounce that he managed to pick up right on number 40, just waiting for him, makes the hit, and then that surge forward for another 4 yards.
Mike Hoover ready. Cloverleaf line almost jumped. Joe Tricomi finds a hole on the right side of the line. And he's tackled by Elkovitz at the 48.
So that's about a 14-yard pickup. That'll be a 1st and 10 for Wadsworth on the 49. To mention again, the wind is really gusting out there, 25 to 35 miles an hour. In this quarter, Wadsworth is going into the wind, and Cloverleaf, of course, has the wind at their back. And that might have had something to do with that touchdown pass, because that was a long throw for Voorhees. He usually doesn't throw that deep.
Mike Hoover fumbles as he tried to make the handoff there, but he alertly jumped back on top of the ball before anyone else noticed it was on the ground.
Nobody was looking for it. The ball just falls out of his hand, and everybody's running around, running their blocks, running their patterns, what have you. And Hoover was the only one that knew the ball was on the ground, so he managed to fall on it for no gain, so he dodged a little bullet there. The score on your screen's incorrect. That's 21-20 Cloverleaf. I mean, Wadsworth. Cloverleaf only has 20 points.
Extra point was blocked on that last touchdown. Osterland in motion, draw play. Works again for the Grizzlies as Tricomi scampers through the middle of the line into Cloverleaf territory.
The problem with that one is a couple of people had hands on Tricomi when he was coming through the line. As you watch this, you'll see the hands come out and just hit him there, just enough to slow him down so he couldn't really get up a good head of steam before he got into the secondary. That brings up a 3rd down and about 7 to go for Wadsworth on the 48-yard line of Cloverleaf.
Ben Vujas running across the back of the line. Hoover rolling to his right, finds Ben at the 45 to the 40. Tackled at about the 38.
That play has worked quite a few times tonight. And that was just a little slant out to the outside, and there seems to be a dead space in the Cloverleaf defense over there behind the linebackers, in front of the safety, and the receivers are coming open on the flat all the time. Nice catch, and just turn it upfield, get the 1st down on the 36-yard line.
Joe Tricomi gets it from the tailback position. Takes it down to the 31.
So that'll be a pickup of maybe 6 yards on the play. The Wadsworth line is doing a good job of getting people outside. They're like sealing the inside in. There isn't anybody there at the point of contact. So when Tricomi gets the ball, he's got like about 5 yards before he runs into anybody. And that play's working quite well.
Grizzlies moving the ball slowly but surely. Tricomi fighting for a couple extra yards.
Actually, that was a really nice run. He went for a hole in the line. There wasn't anything there. Bounced a little bit to his left and got 4 yards and the 1st down. So Wadsworth is moving the ball very well here. They're on the 27-yard line, and that's the 3rd 1st down in this drive for the Grizzlies.
Chris Brink has yet to catch a pass tonight, and we're 7 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. That was the fullback, Nate Stone, with the carry. His 1st carry of the night.
I think one of the reasons what's happening with Chris Brink, his numbers, as you watch Stone carry the ball and hand up to the up back, ran into his own ball player and couldn't get much forward speed going. Brink's numbers are so impressive, I'm sure that everybody's double covering him all over the place.
That's why Vujis has been open.
Right, that's why Vujis has been open. Everybody's concentrating on Copeland and Brink.
Joe Tricome going to get it again, goes to the left, cuts back in a little, spins around inside the red zone.
And he's very close to a first down. I don't know where they're going to spot the ball. It's going to be, I don't think he made it. Depends on the spot. I think it's going to bring up a third down and about 1. Good hard running by Tricome here as he gets hit and then fights forward, just keeps fighting for the first down or close to it. Now they're going to mark the yard short. So it's 3rd and 1 on the 17-yard line. One thing we haven't seen Hoover do is run a quarterback draw or a quarterback keeper, and we won't see it there either.
He gives it to Joe Tricome. He fights and gets the first down.
Of course, when you got Tricome behind you, there really isn't much point in trying to run it yourself. So this brings the ball down to about the 13-yard line. Nothing fancy here. Just go through the middle and pick up the first down, which Tricome does, and then a few more.
And Joe's just done a tremendous job of keeping up the tradition of the Wadsworth running game, especially when Matt Ford started out the season as the featured back, and Joe's really stepped up as a junior.
Look at that run.
And he steps into the middle of the line, then cuts to the left, and he's tackled at the 5.
That's a pickup of about 10 yards, depending on where they spot it. One nice thing about Tricome is when he gets hit, he always goes forward. You notice that? He gets that extra yard or two whenever he gets hit. Like there, he's cutting now. Nice cut there. Now he cuts back in, gets hit, but he still drives forward for that extra yard or two. They gave him a pickup of 9, so it's a 2nd and 1 on the 5-yard line.
5:25 to go in the 3rd quarter. Mike Hoover gives it to Joe Tricome. A loss of probably 1 on that play.
I'm not so sure.
No gate on the play.
Maybe got it back to the line.
Yeah, I think he just got it back to the line of scrimmage. That was a good defensive play there by number 20. I can't quite get the number. They're 21 something.
And it's placed on the 6, so he did lose a yard on that play.
Okay. I was wrong. I thought he had actually got the ball back to the line of scrimmage. In fact, I thought he gained a little bit. Of course, when they get down the end zone, from our perspective, the angle is kind of bad. You can't really see exactly how far forward the ball players are going on a play like that. So it's 3rd and 2.
Tricome gets it up the middle.
And that's got to be a first down.
Joe Tricome, the ball carrier. Run down by number 17, Justin Planky.
Watch, Tricome just hits the hole, just keeps driving, and falls forward.
Nice tackle made around the ankles there, number 69 for Cloverleaf, Nate Totten.
So it's a first down and goal to go from the 2, or maybe the 3. And I see if Wadsworth just keeps working Tricome and punching the ball in there.
And they do give it to Joe Tricome, but he's met at the line. Touchdown, Joe Tricome.
What I said about Tricome, when he gets hit, he never goes backwards. He keeps driving forward. Now, that time he was hit, and you think, well, gee, that's no gain. But he kept driving, fall forward, and give him a 2-yard run for the touchdown. So Wadsworth goes up 27-20. Do you think they're going to go for the 2 to try to put the game out of reach with a touchdown? The answer is no way.
They'll force Cloverleaf to go for 2.
To go for the 2, right.
Sam Galpert, good as gold from there, and it's 28-20 with 4:23 to go in the 3rd quarter.
I think we mentioned this every game, but it's worth mentioning again. Galpert has all those extra points, and that's great, but it's really 3 people to do it: the snapper, the holder, and then the kicker. And once again, Hanna did a good job of getting that ball down. The snap was a little bit high, but he managed to get the ball down so quickly that Galpert was never out of stride. As far as Tricome is concerned, right now, very impressive numbers: 31 carries, 179 yards. And notice he stays right on that 6 yards per carry average, and he's got 2 TDs for the night. So Wadsworth opens up a little more comfortably.
And his total yardage is right around where he's been the last 3 games. And we've got a whole quarter and 4 minutes to go. There you see a nice frozen image of our cameraman Andy Lovett high atop the press box.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad we're in the booth tonight. I mean, the temperature isn't all that low. I think it's about 45 degrees right now. But that wind, it is really chilly out there. But here we are in the booth, and we don't have to worry about that wind. You waving? Can you see us over there?
Yeah, hi, Mom. Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
Okay, Galpert. A very short kick
And that's the second one he did like that tonight. Just kind of looped the ball up in the air like a wedge shot down the stray. And
Cloverleaf with good field position.
yeah, they get the ball on the 40-yard line. I don't know if that's by design or he's just missing the ball. But you watch this, the ball just kind of pops straight up in the air and comes straight back down. So that was only about a 20-yard punt with a 2-yard return. Cloverleaf takes over on the 41 with 4:19 to go in the third quarter. And they're in that same formation again, almost strange. I've never seen anything like that.
Voorhees pitches to Solzner. And Jake McIlvain makes the tackle at the 47.
So he picked up about 6 yards on the play, bring up 2nd and 4. But you watch the pitch, and if Wadsworth doesn't adjust, there's more blockers than there are defensive backs over there. Now, McIlvain did a good job of coming up and making the tackle, but not until 5 yards per game. It's going to be interesting to see how long they stay with it. Here they come again, the same formation, only this time they have the receivers and the running back out to the top of the screen rather than the bottom.
This time they pitch to the other side. Solzner can get nowhere. He's met by Will Height and Steve Robertson.
Robertson did a good job of coming up on that play. And the thing, when you run a formation like that, the more you run it, the more the defense is going to adjust, and you're not going to get those yards on the ground. So they might be using that to set something else up, maybe a pass back the other way or something. But I don't think they can go to the well too many more times with that one as they're running it. But it brings up 3rd down and 4 for Cloverleaf. And same formation, but now they're doing it to this side of the screen.
3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Voorhees fakes the handoff. Ben Hill with the pressure. Pass in and out of the hands of Shane Mangan.
And you got to figure that's what they were trying to set up, because Mangan did come wide open. That must be 8 drops that Voorhees has had tonight. His numbers are, he's done much better than what his numbers show. I mean, that pass was right on the money for a 1st and 10, and then for some yards to boot.
And if the Cloverleaf receivers all season, I've heard, Larry, could have helped out in making a lot of catches, Voorhees may even have bigger numbers. The punt caught by Tricome, then dropped. Then he picks it up and runs back to the middle of the field, and he's tackled at the 40, or 38, I should say. But I've heard Cloverleaf has had trouble with their receivers dropping the ball all season.
Well, you watch this, the ball's dropped and then picked up. Nice bounce, fortunately. And now Tricome has a little bit of room. He almost breaks this. So the person who makes the tackle right there, that's the last person that was going to catch Tricome. But as good a quarterback as Hoover is, we've mentioned this before, his wide receivers, his tight ends, his running backs make him look good, too, because they catch passes that maybe shouldn't be caught.
Grizzlies keeping it on the ground as Tricome finds another huge hole created by the Wadsworth offensive line, and he takes it into Cloverleaf territory.
Case in point about the wide receivers in the first half, that pass that Vujas caught. Any other wide receiver, that's going to be an incompletion. Not many people can catch the ball with their knees, but he did, and it goes down in the stats as the touchdown pass. But that was the receivers doing the job for you. Nice run by Tricome again.
Tricome over 200 yards now for the night. Hand off to the up man, Stone. He fights for some yards. He's pushed back a bit.
They used that very effectively last week against Highland, particularly when they had that 4 defensive back set in there. There wasn't necessarily anybody over the center. That's a good call if you don't have a linebacker in the middle. If you can get your center to block the nose tackle or the person playing in the middle, there's no linebacker there to come up and make the tackle. But Stone only got 2 yards on that play, so it's going to be 2nd and 8.
Give to Tricome to the right. And he's almost to the 35 of Cloverleaf. That should be a first down.
A 9-yard pickup. Chris Brink is doing an outstanding job as blocking as a tight end. You think about Brink and you think of him as a receiver with those 20 yards per catch, but he's doing an outstanding job of blocking and opening up the holes, particularly when Tricome goes a little bit wide. Here's some of the Wadsworth fans.
Hoover again to Tricome. Tries to get to the left side of the line and around, but can't because Aaron Farnsworth, senior guard, makes the tackle.
We'll pick up a 1. One thing that's happening is we're watching Tricome run the ball down the field. The clock is steadily running down, and there's only a minute and 30 to go, minute and 29 now. So that could be important down the road, not giving Cloverleaf time to score any more touchdowns. I mean, not many more as the game goes on. 2nd and 9, and look for Hoover to put the ball up here.
Hoover, short drop back, over the shoulder to Vujas, out of his reach, incomplete.
Just over his head.
3rd down for the Grizzlies.
Something that I find interesting is considering how big and how skilled, as you watch the play just overthrown, how big and how skilled the Cloverleaf line are. They're not wearing Wadsworth down. I mean, Wadsworth is actually right now winning the battle at the line of scrimmage, both in terms of the run and also in that case protecting Hoover. So they're doing an awfully good job, those kids down there in the trenches.
Hoover again dropping back, steps into the pocket, slant pattern run by Adam
Great
Copeland, and caught on the fingertips inside the 20, another 1st down.
We said wide receivers can make a quarterback look good. Here's a good example. This ball marginal as to whether it should be caught or not, and Copeland just stretches full out and brings that ball in.
We have a Cloverleaf player hurt on the 40-yard line.
Can't see the number. Might have a muscle cramp in his leg. That's what it looks like. They're stretching his leg out or checking his knee, one of the two. They're feeling around on his calf. Might be a calf muscle. So there's a timeout on the field. And with that completion, of course, Wadsworth gets a 1st down, and they've got a 1st and 10, and the ball spotted on the 18-yard line.
It's number 32, Justin Belding, a junior linebacker.
He just had a muscle cramp, I think, because he's running off the field under his own power. So Wadsworth 1st and 10 on the 18. And for a lot of teams, if Wadsworth were to score, you'd think, well, they're going to have trouble coming back. But Cloverleaf can put points on the board, as they've shown tonight. And in fact, they've shown all season. They just can't quite put as many points on the board as they let the other team have.
1 minute, 2 seconds remaining in the 3rd.
Now, I just noticed Hoover turned around. He said something to Stone. And you might want to watch number 25, Stone, on this play and see what happens if Nate got some extra instructions there.
He's going to block for Tricome, and Tricome spinning around. Initial hit there made by Adam Shook, senior defensive lineman.
Give Tricome a pickup of maybe 1, so it's going to be 2nd down and 9 to go. That was good defense by the Colts.
I'm very impressed, Larry, by this number 40, Shane Mangan, making plays on both sides of the ball, but particularly as the linebacker. He's probably the best linebacker we've seen in the league thus far.
Tricome
into the end zone, touchdown Joe Tricome, running the ball from the 17. That's Joe's 3rd touchdown of the night. Continues to pile up the yardage. I believe Tricome, Larry, last 3 games, he's had 10 touchdowns the last 3 games.
Here's an interesting stat we got for you. Tricome's carried the ball 36 times. We'll wait till the extra point is over. I'll finish this. Nice job again getting the ball down and up. He's carried the ball 36 times for 223 yards. The record carries versus Cloverleaf is by Kyle Obendorf, who carried the ball 41 times. Was that 2 years ago? I think. And when Kyle Obendorf did that, he had 324 yards.
Let's go down to the sidelines to our reporter, Jeff Jenkins.
Hey, John and Larry, Jeff down in the field. It's like a carnival around here. We got cheerleaders throwing out towels. We got kids shooting hot dogs into the stands. But on a serious note, Adam Copeland, who's already set a record for career catches this pass, just went over his best season ever. Last year he had 43. Now he has 44 this season. Just thought I'd pass it on to you. Hi up there, guys.
Okay,
Thanks,
to set the record straight, the number of carries is Kyle Obendorf with 41. But Dan Herbert 3 years ago has the single-game rushing record of 324 yards. So those are some of the numbers that we're talking about from Grizzlies in the past. And I'll tell you, in the last 3 or 4 years, Wadsworth has put together one heck of a running game. And when you put it together with this passing game, you can see why they're 8-0.
Kick by Galpert is going to be run up the middle of the field by Solzner, and he's tackled from behind by Jeff Dietrich at the 32. And thanks to Jeff, to that interesting note from the sideline, that Adam Copeland on that last series, making that reception, broke his own single season record of 44 catches in a season. Well, it was 43 last season, 44 this.
So it's 1st and 10 Cloverleaf, and see what kind of a set they come out in this time. And they're still coming out in that wing type set with 3 people to the bottom.
Voorhees rolling to his right, now looks back to the left, almost sacked by Greg Dent and almost intercepted by Steve Robertson, but a nice defensive play, or offensive player on offense.
Yeah.
Solzner broke up the interception.
Well, here's the problem right here, where Voorhees is trying to get away. He lost all rhythm and continuity and threw the ball pretty much up for grabs, and you can see Robertson was just standing there, and it was a great defensive job, as you said, by the offensive player to keep the interception from being made. And there's
6 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter, and Wadsworth leading by 15.
So this will probably be the last play of the 3rd quarter, 35-20 Wadsworth. And now they're back in a straight I formation. They've come out of that strange set that they were in.
Solzner running it to the left, but Jake McIlvain, the assassin, is there.
The penalty flag came in late. I don't know if that's going to be a face mask. McIlvain made the tackle. It's a personal foul against Wadsworth. I don't know if that's going to be a late hit or a face mask. But that's too bad, because they had him bottled up back with about 3rd and long up. So the referee's coming out and spotting the ball on the 50-yard line. And we'll see what the call is. Personal foul, but they don't say what it was. It must have been a late hit. And that's the end of the 3rd quarter, and Cloverleaf will have the ball 1st and 10 on the 50-yard line.
Cloverleaf will take over. Start the 4th quarter.
Okay, we're going to go back to the sidelines with Jeff Jenkins. He has another report for us.
Hey, John, I want you to see something here. I do have the winning 50-50 number tonight.
You won.
That's my report from the sideline. I'm not going to be here for a while. I got to go get my money. The first time in years.
Hey,
goodbye.
Jeff finally won the 50-50. I don't know, Larry, how many times he's played that. Every home basketball game, he'd play that stinking game, and he finally won it. Good job, Jeff.
Thursday night and Saturday night at 7:30 and Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mike Hoover, by the way, is 9 of 17 for 149 yards. And Cloverleaf's coming out 1st and 10 on the 50. So numbers for Justin Voorhees, he's 3 for 17, 20 yards, and 1 touchdown. But boy, then those numbers don't do credit to what he's done tonight, because as we've counted, there have been 8 drops at least. The ball just should have been caught, no getting around it. But start the 4th quarter, Wadsworth up 35-20.
Voorhees under center at midfield, looking to put the Colts back into this game as Solzner runs around the right, bounces off the line, gets a couple more yards.
Chris Brink did a good job of stringing that out, but he really had nowhere to run. The Wadsworth defenders are just flowing to the left. Just as you diagram what you do when somebody tries to run wide. There's a pickup of 2 on the play, so it'll bring up 2nd and 8. Jeff Hanna made the tackle. And the clock now starts to become a factor. Cloverleaf has got to score here, and they've got to score again to get back in the ball game. There isn't going to be that much time left the way Tracomie's running. Wadsworth can just take time off the clock.
Solzner spins around, takes it inside the 45 of Wadsworth.
A pickup of about 2, maybe 3, so it's going to bring up a 3rd down and 4 for Cloverleaf. And this is where Wadsworth stopped the last time, but then the penalty gave him the 1st down. So see if Wadsworth can get up here and stop. By the way, Wadsworth has the wind in the 4th quarter, and it is significant. So if Cloverleaf has to punt, they'll be punting into the wind, and Wadsworth, of course, has the wind at their back for the entire 4th quarter.
Voorhees gonna roll to his left. Open is number 22, Adam Fisher, and he falls on his back after making the catch.
That was funny, because Fisher made a very nice catch of the ball for the 1st down. It seems like the ones where Voorhees is hitting them in the hands, they're dropping, but that was a difficult catch, and he managed to pull it in. So it's going to be a first down Cloverleaf on the Wadsworth 38, and it looks like Cloverleaf now has something going for them. They got a little bit of a drive going here.
Lost our picture there again, Larry. It's a blizzard here at Arkwright Stadium.
Oh,
there
the
we go.
blizzard just left, yeah. We had a temporary whiteout. Very quick passing storm.
Voorhees gives to Solzner.
He might have picked up 1, 2 at the most. And once again, you see Voorhees going over to the side at the top of your screen there to get the play call from the coach. We mentioned this in the first half. That's rather unusual because most coaches will either signal in the plays or run somebody in with the play. But every play, Voorhees goes over the side, gets the play, and comes back to the huddle. If I had known he was going to do that, I would have counted how many yards he ran going back and forth to the side. Must be several hundred.
9:20 left and counting in the game. Voorhees looking, gonna have to run it himself up the middle.
Good move.
Makes some very nice moves. Finally, Pat McCarthy's there. He fumbles the ball and gets back to it and recovers. Number 22, Adam Fisher, recovering the fumble.
But that fumble might have cost him a first down. He was beyond the first down marker when he was hit, and there's a Wadsworth player injured on the play. I can't see who it is.
It's Jeff Hanna at the 30-yard line.
They evidently called the ball down before the fumble because they're marking it on the 20-yard line and giving a first down to Cloverleaf. So I guess you wouldn't count that as a fumble. He was ruled down before he was hit. And they're working on Jeff Hanna there.
So we can look at right now let's look at the slate of the schedule for the Wadsworth Grizzlies real quick. This, of course, the 9th game of the regular season. Grizzlies have run the table up to tonight's game, 8-0 on the season. We'll be here for the final regular season game next week against the Copley Indians. There's Jeff with his money in the background. I wonder where he's taking me out tonight. Look at that stack of cash. Look at the W's all up and down there. Look at that guy.
There really isn't much to talk about what's going on around the area. Things are pretty well settled down, but Cloverleaf, Cuyahoga Falls and Barberton are playing tonight, and Wadsworth is going to pick up some computer points no matter who wins that. Medina's playing at Strongsville, and Strongsville Ball Club has come on recently. Medina's going to have trouble there. Revere at Talmadge might be a halfway decent game, but I think Revere has got the edge because they win that. They're like a lock on third place in the Suburban League. Green at Norton, you got to pick Green, and Copley at Highland, of course, you got to go with Copley. So really, it just comes down to next week, as you see there on the screen.
So classic matchup there on the final Friday night of the regular season between Wadsworth and Copley, assuming both teams win tonight.
Well, when it started out, we started out the season, the first game, we said 4 teams that were going to be considered almost equally on par for the Suburban League were Wadsworth, in Copley, in Revere, and Green. And if you look at how things panned out, those are the 4 teams that are going to finish 1, 2, 3, 4. The only question is in which order they're going to do it. They're still working on Jeff Hanna on the field.
It'll be a tough loss for the Grizzlies. He's had quite a season, and Jeff's only a junior.
Well, I bet you, if you're coming to the game next week, folks, and I really hope you do, this place is going to be packed, I would imagine, because Copley is going to bring a lot of people over also. So I hope you get here good and early. They're getting Hanna up now.
And he's going to need some assistance getting up, it looks like. And he's standing on both feet, so it's not his legs. Might have just got the wind knocked out of him.
Yeah, standing there talking to him. When play resumes, just to set things up, it's going to be a 1st and 10 for Cloverleaf on the Wadsworth 28. Remember the last play on that scramble, the quarterback was ruled down, and there was no fumble, so they gave the forward progress, which made it a first down on the 28, 29-yard line. And we've got 8:57 to play in the game.
We might even have a fuller press box next week, Larry, with media for that Suburban League Championship matchup.
Yeah, I don't know what other games there are Friday night in the area, but this one has to be the premier game. Like I say, what more can you ask for? The computer points, Suburban League Championship, hopefully 2 teams that are 9-0. I mean, this is what football's all about going into the last game. So, yeah, like you say, there could be quite a few people here in the press box. Well, we'll be here.
Yeah, we got our seats. And Hannah still being looked at the 30-yard line. 8:57 to go in the game. Wadsworth up by 15, 35-20. And they're taking Hannah off the field over towards the Cloverleaf bench and into the locker room.
I can't tell what's right. It looks like his left arm or his left shoulder, the way he's walking. There's certainly nothing wrong with his leg. So if I had to guess, and I don't like to do this, I would say he has an injury to either the left arm or to the left shoulder. And like you say, that would be a big loss if he can't come back or can't come back next week.
Jeff, an awful good player for the Grizzlies. We wish him the best. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Now we're ready. Voorhees from the Wadsworth 28. 2 receivers to the left of the line. Voorhees drops back. Looking long to the left side of the end zone. Intercepted. And comes in to replace Jeff Hanna is Ben Vugis.
Ben Vugis.
Vugis is a defensive back.
Well, Wadsworth was like in an umbrella coverage, and what Vugis is doing is playing center field. This ball is just lobbed up in the air. There's no steam on it, and so consequently, he has a lot of time to get over there and make the interception. A great catch by Vugis. And so Wadsworth takes over deep in their territory, but that doesn't matter because they stopped the Cloverleaf drive.
So Wadsworth likely to keep the ball on the ground here with 8.5 minutes to go. And I guess on that play there, Larry, they did bring Vugis in to replace Hanna. They moved McCarthy over from cornerback to safety.
Yeah, Wadsworth right now is a little thin back there because Matt Floor, in addition to being a running back, was supposed to be one of the starting defensive backs. They lost him. You got to remember that Karowski, a linebacker, is out, and now Hanna is out. So they're getting awful thin back in the defensive secondary and the linebackers. And here comes Joe Tricconi.
Takes it to the 25 of Wadsworth for about a 13-yard carry.
And you take a look at the clock, there's only 7:53 to go. So you got to figure not only is Cloverleaf fighting Wadsworth, they're fighting the clock right now. And they have to score 2 touchdowns and at least 1 2-point conversion to tie the game. And there just isn't going to be that much time left to do it. So 1st and 10 Wadsworth, ball at the 25. Here they come again.
Hoover giving to Joe Tricconi. He's smacked behind the line and brought down there.
It was a good tackle by number 69. It was the second person to hit him. That would be Nate Totten. And you watch this. He lost yardage there. A big hit. And then Totten comes in and puts the finishing touches on. And that's one of the few times that Tricconi has either been held for no gain or driven backwards here tonight. So it'll bring up 2nd down and 11 for Wadsworth on the 24-yard line.
Mike Hoover rolling to the left, finds Chris Brink, his first reception to the 30, the 35, barreling through defenders to the 44 of the Grizzlies.
And what Brink does so well is how he runs with the ball after he's got it. He's big, and when the defensive back hits him, more often than not, he's just going to run over them. And that was like about a 5-yard pass and then about a 15-yard run by Brink, knocking people out of the way as he went. So Wadsworth has it 1st and 10 on the 43-yard line. 6:43 to go and counting here in the 4th quarter. Hoover has 169 yards passing for the night.
Tricconi barrels through the middle into Cloverleaf territory, trying to be stripped of the ball. He'll be called down around the 47.
But that's a 1st down, and Tricconi, when he gets hit, he just keeps driving and pushing forward. So they'll give him a 1st down on that. So it's 1st and 10 Wadsworth on the Cloverleaf 46. And I think if Tricconi carries the ball one more time,
which he will.
Well, one would think He'll tie the school record for number of carries, and 2 carries, of course, he'll set a new record. So next carry, he'd be tied with Kyle Obendorf for 41 carries in a single game, and there it is.
Yes, and he goes around the right end for another beautiful run, tackled from behind by number 78 of the Colts, and he takes it to the 33.
And I have a hunch the Cloverleaf is getting discouraged right now because Wadsworth isn't doing anything fancy. And they got the ball, what, on like the 5 to 10 yard line after that interception, and they've just marched up the field with that one pass play. The rest of it's been all run. And Cloverleaf just doesn't seem to be able to do anything to stop Wadsworth or to stop Tracomie. And now we're down to 5:38 counting.
All kinds of records being broken.
Wadsworth's calling a timeout. There was some confusion on the play. And
looks like an equipment problem with Chris Brink's helmet.
Yeah, they've got Chris Brink's helmet out, and the referee is working on it.
But I wanted to say, Larry, all kinds of records being broken by the skilled players of this Wadsworth group. Let's go down to the sideline, see what's going on down there.
I'm filling in for Jeff Jenkins, who won the 50-50 raffle, and I just want to say hi to my grandma.
Hi, Grandma! Yeah!
Wonderful job there by sounded like some members of the Wadsworth City Schools. 5:25 to go in the game. Grizzlies marching on. Draw play, flag.
I think that's going to be a motion penalty on Wadsworth. The flag came in from the back. Yeah, it's a false start on somebody. I couldn't see who. Maybe if they have it on replay, we can see. But the referee threw that flag right at the snap of the play. So it's going to be a 5-yard penalty, bring up 1st and 15 for Wadsworth.
Well, that young lady on the sideline saying she was filling in for Jeff. Jeff got the money and ran. He had a big wad of bills, and he was out of here. Now 5 minutes to go in the game. Give to the up man, Stone, and he was brought by Nate Totten, brought down by the defensive tackle.
Yeah, Nate Totten's had a couple big hits tonight. And the people whose numbers we thought we'd be calling, Stewart and Clapp, we really haven't been, though they've been doing their job. But Totten made a big hit right there, and that brings up a 2nd down and 15. 4:47 to go. And personally, I hope that Tracomie gets a chance to carry the ball one more time, because the last 2 handoffs were to Stone and not to Tracomie. I'd like to see him set the record.
We'll see. Vujis in motion to the other side of the line. Draw play again to Tracomie. He does break the record, takes it to the 39.
And it's ironic, with all the great running that he did tonight, he breaks the record on a 1-yard run. But he's set the record with 42 carries for a single game. Right now, Joe Tracomie has 42 carries, 260 yards. And Wadsworth has, to this point, 419 yards of total offense. So this has been a real big offensive night. They've had 12 first downs in the second half alone and 25 for the game.
Hoover going to throw this time. Over the middle, intended for Tracomie, a little long.
So that's going to bring up a 4th down and 15 on the 40-yard line. And you'll probably see Wadsworth punt the ball and try to pin Cloverleaf down deep. But remember, Cloverleaf will get the ball. It's about 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go. And they have to score twice and get a 2-point conversion to tie the game. So things are looking good for Wadsworth right now. If they can get the punt away, not get it blocked, looking pretty good.
Justin Blackburn in for the injured Tony Moeller. Snaps high. He brings it down. Good high kick. Spiraling. Hits at the 18 and rolls out of bounds.
On about the 15-yard line. That was a very, very effective punt. It was only 25 yards long, but it was very effective because there was no run back. So Cloverleaf will take over there. And unlike some of the other teams, you're up 15 with 3.5 to go. You think, well, this is in the bag. But Cloverleaf, that's not true. You know they can put points on the board. And you saw them score twice in 3 minutes at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half. See what kind of a formation they come out in this time.
So you've got McCarthy and Robertson at the corners, and safeties are Vujis and McIlvain. As Voorhees goes back.
Just missed it.
He was pressured by Doug Perigo. And Elkovitz with the catch at the 33.
And Robertson was there to make the hit. So that's going to be a pickup of about 16 yards, I believe. So it'll be a first down Cloverleaf on the Cloverleaf 32. And they're in a hurry-up offense, no huddle.
Doug Perigo, the sophomore nose tackle, flushing Voorhees out of the pocket there, but nice job to make the completion by the Colts. Voorhees hurrying again. Makes the completion to Steve Sislinski.
Yeah, I expect
he gets out of bounds to stop the clock.
I expected to be calling his number a lot tonight as a wide receiver too, and he hasn't had that many catches. The clock stops with 3:25 to go, and Voorhees went over with the clock stop and probably got a couple of plays from the coaches, and they're just going to run the set plays no matter how many yards they gain. 3:25 to go in the fourth quarter. 35-20 Cloverleaf is losing.
Voorhees, short drop back. Quick pass out to the running back, Solzner, incomplete.
Another drop pass, but McElvain was there. It would not have gone for much. But you got to feel sorry for Voorhees with all the drops that he's got. This is not a bad pass. A little bit behind him, but still you should be able to bring that down. You see McElvain coming up to put the hit on if necessary.
I think Solzner was thinking more about running with it than catching it first.
So that brings up a third down and 4 yards to go.
Voorhees going to keep it in the air. Ben Hill, the pass rusher, gets in there.
The ball bounced to the receiver.
Good job by Ben Hill, the junior defensive end.
Well, he came in, I think, when they moved
Delnos to
over to linebacker. And he does a good job. Comes in pretty clean, just beats his blocker at the line of scrimmage. And I'm not saying he caused that to happen, but he sure was a big part of it. And so that brings up a fourth down and 3 yards to go for Cloverleaf. And it looks like they're going to go for it, and they might as well. They don't have anything to lose. But if they don't make it, the ball game's over.
Voorhees. And through the hands of number 22, Adam Fisher, turned over on downs. Grizzlies with a great opportunity to win the game.
Well, I think this is pretty much over now. You got to feel sorry for Voorhees. And there were, just in that series alone, there were 2 drop passes that would have been first downs to keep the drive going, and they weren't difficult catches. So too bad that his receivers aren't doing a better job of getting the ball down. So I think you could see a lot more of Joe Tricome now in the last 3 minutes and 10 seconds, because I don't see Wadsworth putting the ball in the air the rest of the night.
Joe with a career night as far as rushing yards goes. And the Colts on coming that time, number 65, Casey Castile, making the initial hit. And he was helped by a teammate on the tackle.
There's a big hit right there. And it looked like Castile was just untouched. Nobody managed to block him. But Wadsworth will take that. They're just kind of taking their time back in the huddle, running the clock down. 2:46 to go and counting. I think Cloverleaf has all 3 timeouts, but I think if Wadsworth gets another first and 10, they may not even use them.
Hoover again to Joe Tricome. To the right, back to the middle. Gets some extra yardage out to the 32 of Cloverleaf.
I think it's interesting. Here we are with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and Tricome seems to be running just as hard as he did in the first quarter. This is not an easy run. He gets hit there, and hit there, and just keeps driving forward. So that brings up a third down and 4, and when the snap comes, there'll be under 2 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. 273 yards so far for Joe Tricome. What a night.
Again, Tricome.
And he's got the first down.
Takes it to the 25. Clock running, 1:45 to go. Timeout called, Cloverleaf.
Or is that just to move the chains?
Maybe.
I think it's just to move the chains. And I think you could kind of chalk this one up on the board game down there in the van if you want to do it, because Cloverleaf just isn't even taking their timeouts, and this one's going to end 35-20 at least. And we're going to go into Copley. Copley's coming here. We'll be 9-0. They probably will be too. Minute 35 to go.
Tricome just carrying a defender with him before he's brought down at the 21. 1:25 to go. The Cloverleaf Colts will fall to 3-6 overall and 2-4 in the league.
There isn't much to say. It's just everybody's kind of tired right now and just want to get it over with. The Chicone keeps driving forward for another 6 yards. Minute 9 to go. 288 yards for Joe Chicone tonight.
Quick handoff to the up man, Nate Stone. He's gang tackled inside the 20. Under a minute left in the game. Grizzlies to go 9-0, 6-0 in the Suburban League.
And the next snap will probably be the end of the game. I don't see any more snaps after that.
A classic closing night matchup next Friday evening here at Arkwright Stadium.
Yeah, you know, you couldn't script it any better than that. You know, when we were doing the first game, you were hoping this is what would happen. Well, 9 weeks later, here it is.
And we are, of course, assuming Copley won tonight. And,
right.
You know, we can't say they won, but...
And there's Hoover just kneeling down. Even if they didn't win, it's going to be for the conference championship, so that's still there. And that'll be the last play of the game, and that'll wrap it up with our final score, 35-20 Wadsworth.
So the Grizzlies continue to roll, beating the Colts 35-20 tonight. And we hope you can come out to watch the Grizzlies next Friday here at Arkwright Stadium. If not, tune into WCTV Channel 16. You will see all the coverage by our great crew. There you see the final, Wadsworth winning by 15. Any final thoughts there, Larry?
I think it would have been a much closer game. In fact, it would have been really something if the Cloverleaf receivers had been able to hang on to the ball. And as glad as I am for our kids, particularly Chicone's record-breaking performance, I feel sorry for Voorhees because his numbers are not going to look good. But what happened wasn't his fault. But that's the way it goes.
There you see our website on the screen, and there now you see
tonight for the first time in league history.